If you are currently struggling to improve at online chess, it's probably because you're making the same mistake that I see so many other online players make over and over again. Now, the biggest mistake that I see in other players is they play too defensively. They simply sit around and wait for the opponent to make a mistake instead of actively pressuring and attacking the opponent to induce mistakes to make it easier to win the game. Now, so many players seem to think that total victory comes from playing defensively, so-called sitting on their hands, doing nothing, and simply waiting for mistakes, but nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, playing in an overly defensive style, not only does it make it harder to win games in the short term, it actually makes it much harder to improve in the long term, as you actually don't get any better playing that way. Now, instead of that, what you need to do is shift your focus to a completely different approach, one that I will show you in this video, which if you can learn this new approach, this new technique that I'm going to show you, it will completely change the way you play online chess, and it'll make it so much more fun, and your rating will simply skyrocket. Now, this strategy has two parts. The first part, of course, is always considering what the opponent's threat is during the game, but the second part is what I'm calling attack or develop. And if you could learn how to attack or develop during your games and how to use that thought process, again, your rating will explode. So in the game here, I'm playing one of my online students from my online chess community, drmikechess.com. This guy actually won a 2-hour coaching call with me by winning a 5-day challenge. So in the game, I play 1e4, and my opponent rated about 1,000 in rapid, 768 in blitz. He plays 1e5. Now, the entire thesis for my strategy is attack or develop. If my opponent does not have a threat, my number one thing that I want to do is either attack the opponent or develop, or if I can do both at the same time, that is even better. So here on move 2, knight f3, both attacking and developing the opponent. That is almost always a good move in my system. Now black sees the threat. Pawn on e5 is under attack, and he does defend with the move knight c6. Now here on move 3, I don't see any real way to attack further yet, so my main priority right here is simply to develop and castle as fast as I can. So I play bishop c4, the Italian opening. So far it's all theory, but you can see here, I'm gaining control of the center, developing 2 pieces as fast as I can, setting up castling, and from there, I'll try to find some other way to either attack the opponent or continue developing in the game. Now, black here plays the move knight to f6, pressuring my pawn. Now, it's super, super important whenever your opponent plays a move, the first thing we do is we say, what is my opponent's threat? Does the opponent threaten something here with his last move or his pieces in general? If he does threaten something, then we have to respond to the threat. It's only if he's not threatening something, then we go into attack or develop mode. So here, black threatens the e-pawn. I simply go d3, defending the pawn, a very solid move. And now black plays the move bishop c5, a standard developing idea in the Italian opening. Now here, again, does the opponent have a threat? Not really. The bishop, it is putting some pressure on f2, but it's not that big of a deal. If black ever goes, for example, knight g4, I can always castle defending f2, and the pawn will be supported by the king and the rook on the f1 square. So not that big of a deal. So there's no threat here. Therefore, I immediately go to attack or develop mode. Now, can I attack something? If I can, then that is often the way to go. If I can't, then I want to develop and ideally bring more pieces into the game, castle, develop off the back rank, and so on, and try to get every single piece developed as fast as I can. Now, here, I could go, for example, c3, threatening something like d4 or b4, trying to chase the bishop. That is one option, but it doesn't look that strong to me yet. So instead here, I simply castle my king on the king's side, the most natural developing move you could make in this position. Now, black here plays the move d6. Now, again, first thing I do, does the opponent have a threat in this position? Well, d6 opens the bishop on c8. Bishop g4 could be one threat. Maybe that combined with, say, I don't know, knight d4 could be a little dangerous. But beyond that, there's actually a more sinister threat right here. See if you can find it. Pause the video, see if you can find the threat right now. And black, it turns out, is threatening to win the bishop on c4 with the move knight to a5. Let's say I were to waste a move and go like h3, trying to guard g4, trying to stop bishop g4, responding to that threat right there. Well, in that case here, if I draw arrows correctly, black has the move knight to a5, which sort of wins the bishop. Either he wins it right there, or I go to d5 and he wins it, or I go to b3, he wins it, or even bishop b5, black will eventually win this bishop all the way back on b3, and I'll lose the bishop pair. And in case you don't know, the bishop pair in most positions, unless it's a super close position, is generally worth about half a pawn. So that would be a massive, massive loss. So here, I play the move in this position, simply c3. So I see the opponent's threat. He's trying to win the bishop, and I play a move that defends against the threat, but also sets up various attacking ideas like d4 and b4. So a multi-purpose move defending against the threat and attacking. And the reason this works, if black was to go knight a5, I can play the idea of bishop b5, check, hits the king, c6, bishop a4, b5, and finally bishop c2 is now possible as the c3 advance frees up the c2 square. So I saw all the way into the future here and played the move c3, giving my bishop or a tree square on c2 to keep it alive no matter what, but also I'm guarding d4 and setting up d4 and b4 ideas, which are part of my long-term plan here. Now, black, in this position, maybe he should castle, or maybe he should defend against the idea of b4 from me by playing a move like a6 or a5, giving his bishop a retreat square on a7. Those are the standard moves here for black. But instead, black plays the move bishop g4. Okay, right away, the first thing I ask myself, what is the opponent's threat right here? What is he threatening? Well, if the pawn were not on c3, black might be threatening knight d4, hitting this knight with 2 pieces. But of course, d4 is covered. Beyond that, I don't see any real way for black to pressure this. Maybe at some point black may go, for example, knight to h5 and queen to f6, pressuring f3, but overall, it's not that big of a deal. Now, one very important factor right here is with the bishop on g4, it is much harder for me to achieve the d4 advance because the bishop pins this knight, and the knight is one of the key defenders of the d4 square in general. Therefore, black here is sort of playing against the idea of me going d4. Now, how do I want to respond against this threat? Well, as usual, I use my attack or develop thinking system. So the first thing I do, does the opponent have a threat? Not really. d4 is harder to achieve, but there's no concrete threat I must respond to. Therefore, step 2 in my thought process is attack or develop. Do I have a good attacking idea that I can play right now? If I do, consider playing it. If I don't, the number one priority is to develop more pieces out into the game. So here, what are my attacking options? d4 is not that strong. I could go h3 intending bishop h5 and then g4. That is one idea, and it's a valid idea for white here. I could also go, for example, b4 intending a4, trying to trap the bishop with the nose arc trap, but black could respond with, say, a6 or a5 and be relatively okay. Now, given that this is a blitz game, I simply tried to find the simplest, easiest move here that's also super strong. And to me, that was the move knight b to d2. Now, this move may look simple, but I do have a very specific idea in mind with this move. My plan here, I'm trying to take advantage of the weak placement of this bishop on g4, and my plan is simply h3, bishop h5, rook e1, and then knight to f1, and then knight g3, pressuring the bishop on the king side. And from there, maybe intending knight to f5 ideas later in the game, attacking on the king side. So I have this long-term plan to apply a lot of pressure on the opponent based on the weakness of this move right here. So that is really the thing that so many online players don't do. They don't create these long-term plans to apply maximum pressure on the opponent, to put them under pressure, to actually induce mistakes. So many players just sit on their hands and do nothing with no concrete idea of how to attack the opponent, and that is the reason they can't win their games in the short term, and they can't actually become a stronger player in the long term. So let's see how this plan works out for me in this game, this very strong attacking idea. Black, he castles. So I begin my plan, h3. There's no threat with castles, therefore my plan is attack or develop, and I want to attack with this idea of rook e1, knight f1, knight g3, which looks very strong given the vulnerable placement of the bishop on the g4 square. So h3, bishop h5. Black, of course, could trade on f3, but if he does that, I take back with the knights, and suddenly I have the bishop pair for free, and I can go d4 as there is no more pressure on this knight on f3. So that would be a total disaster for black in the game. Instead, black goes back to h5. Bishop h5 was chosen in the game. And now here I do have a number of attacking ideas. Again, black here, the first part of my thinking system, does black have a threat right here? The answer is no. Therefore, attack or develop. what are my attacking ideas? Now, if you really want to break down the attacking ideas to the very nitty-gritty level, you can use CCT, checks, captures, threats. Do I have any checks? Well, I can take on f7, but it's not exactly the strongest move here. Now, next is, do I have any captures? Well, the only capture besides taking f7 would be something like taking on e5, which is suicide. I give up that piece, I lose the queen, so not really a strong move. Now, do I have any threats? It turns out, yes, I do have some threats. g4 is one idea, d4 is one, even b4, intending a4, a5 would be another threat. So, especially b4 and g4, these are actually very concrete threats, and I could play them. However, the reason I didn't do this in the game, the reason I didn't go, say, g4 attacking the bishop, or say, b4 attacking this bishop, is that in this position, I have the very simple attacking idea of rook e1, knight f1, knight g3. And in general, when you have a choice between several different attacking ideas that are all strong, but one is way simpler and less risky than the others, generally speaking, choosing the less risky option as an amateur player online trying to improve is generally the stronger idea. So while I love attacking chess, while I love pressuring the opponent, while I personally think you should be focusing on pressuring the opponent whenever you can, if you have a simpler plan that also allows you to attack versus a more complicated one, generally speaking, choosing the simpler option is going to be to your benefit. So rook e1 is the move here for me, intending knight f1 and then knight g3. Very simple stuff, but very, very strong. Now, black here has a difficult choice. How do you want to deal with the plan of simply knight f1 to g3, attacking the bishop? And honestly, it's not that easy to find the right idea. Maybe here black goes for a waiting move like a6 or a5, trying to give a7 as a retreat square for the bishop. Maybe black goes h6, but it's not that easy to defend here. Black's already under a very serious bind, and this really shows how simply thinking about how can you pressure the opponents, how beneficial that is instead of just defending and not doing anything. Now, black here makes the first big mistake of the game, queen to e7. Now, this move actually looks somewhat logical. His idea in the game, checkmated Jackie, shout out to checkmated Jackie, his idea is rook a to d8, developing this rook, which actually does make some sense. Black here doesn't have any major attacking ideas, therefore, he's trying to develop his pieces himself. So following my advice in this game of attacking or developing, but it's a little bit slow, and e7 is sort of an awkward placement for the queen. And the problem with that is if you think into the future, the knight's going to f1, then g3, and from there it eyes the critical f5 square. And Garry Kasparov himself once said a knight on f5 is worth at least a pawn. It is a very, very strong square for the knight, especially in the Italian opening. And on f5, it would gain a tempo on the queen, and that is the problem. Maybe instead queen d7 would be better, but honestly, it's already hard to find an active plan for black in this position. So here, I can go g4, I can go b4. Black has no threat, therefore attacking the opponent is the first thing I think about. Can I attack the opponent? Yes, g4 does work. Yes, b4 does work. But again, I've got this simple plan, and it's even stronger now due to the queen on e7, so I simply continue knight to f1, trying to attack the opponent with this plan. Now, black goes rook a d8, continuing his idea. And here, does the opponent have a threat? Well, technically d5 might be coming in the near future, but again, it doesn't look that dangerous to me yet. I simply don't have to really worry about it. So instead, I go to my same thought process, attack or develop. What can I attack here? And if I can't attack, how do I continue development? Now again, g4 and b4 and so on are playable, even a4, threatening b4, but again, I see no reason to deviate from this plan of simply knight g3, and now black has a major decision to make. What do you do about the pressure on the bishop? Do you leave it there and let me take? Do you go back to g6 and let me infiltrate on the f5 square, or even play a move like knight to h4, intending maybe knight f5 and queen f3 and so on? I've got so many ways to increase the pressure on the king side. It's not easy as black to find the right response. And this is the beauty of attacking chess when you do it correctly, as I show you with my thinking system in this game, is that when you learn how to attack and apply maximum pressure on the opponent, instead of just sitting on your hands doing nothing the entire game, not only is it way more fun and way more satisfying, and you enjoy the game so much more, it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. And when the opponent's under pressure, that is when they make the most mistakes. Everyone knows this. So here, black is under a tremendous amount of pressure. What does he do? Well, it turns out he takes on the f3 square, but that actually might be a little bit of mistake. Instead, leaving it on h5 or going back to g6 might be a little bit stronger. Instead, he takes the knight. I take back with the queen. And now look at this. With a very simple attacking idea of rook e1 and then knight d2 to f1 to g3 attacking the bishop, I now have a very strong knight on f3 eyeing f5, a powerhouse queen in f3, a bishop lining up with squares like g5, even h6. The rook may go to f1 later, intending f4 ideas. I mean, I have so many simple, safe ways to increase the pressure against the opponent. And what can my opponent do here? Honestly, it's not so easy to find a defensive idea. Now, knight f5 is certainly coming on the next move. That is my threat. So black, what should he be doing about this threat? Again, my thinking system, attack or develop. The first thing you do is you say, what is the opponent's threat? Now, knight f5 is not a game-ending idea, but it is a big threat. So my opponent here plays the move queen to d7, sliding over with the queen, trying to get out of the way of the impending attack. Now, instead of that, a move like maybe g6 could be played, trying to defend f5. But even then, bishop h6 is a massive threat from me, and it's not so easy to defend. But anyways, in the game, queen d7 played. Now, what do I want to do right here? Does the opponent have a threat? As always, that is the first thing you think about. Well, black here is lining up a lot of pieces on the d file. Black may be intending d5 here, which, is that really a threat? I mean, it's a good idea, but it's not that dangerous. I can always take on d5 and I'm fine, so it's not really that big of a deal. And besides that, there's no real way for me to stop it besides, say, I don't know, bishop d5, which isn't that attractive of an idea. So I think I'm going to let black here play the move d5 and ignore it, and instead find some way to continue to pile on pressure on the opponent. Now, here is white. What are my attacking ideas? Well, knight f5 makes a lot of sense. Bishop g5 pressuring f6 also makes a lot of sense, and the beauty of that move, we are attacking and developing at the exact same time. And those are my favorite moves to make in chess. When you can attack the opponent and develop at the same time, that is like the holy grail right there. It's like the double serving guacamole at Chipotle. It is exactly what you want. So when you can develop and attack at the same time, that is almost always a strong idea worth considering. So that is one move. Knight f5 is one move. There's even insane ideas like bishop to h6, trying to deflect the g-pawn away from the defense of the knight, and generally trying to blow open the king side. Now, what did I play in the game? Honestly here, I didn't see anything wrong with simply knight to f5. It's part of my plan. It's part of the general attacking ideas that I have, so I do just jump in and play that move. Knight to f5, which, yes, I am moving the same piece several different times in the opening, but I do have most of my pieces on pretty good squares. The rook, the queen, the bishop. This bishop on c1 is sort of sitting around waiting to launch to g5 or h6 when the time is right. So overall, I thought this was the next step in my plan, and it is sort of a developing idea, getting my piece to a much, much stronger square with also some very aggressive ideas like bishop h6, knight takes g7, and so on. Now, black here, everything he's done so far has led up to the idea of d5, and finally he does play it, and that certainly is a logical choice. So d5 played in the game, but beyond that, what else could black play here? For example, if black goes g6, I have so many ideas like knight to h6, bishop h6, and so on that are just deadly. That move makes sense, but it is tough to play in a game between two human players. So d5 overall makes a lot of sense. Now, again, every single move, I ask myself, first of all, what is the opponent's threat? And then attack or develop. So, what is the opponent's threat here? Obviously, the bishop on c4 is under attack, as is the pawn on the e4 square. Now, the e4 pawn is fine. I can always take back after d takes, d takes. The real threat is the bishop. Now, what do you think I played right here? I'm going to be honest. In this position, I was caught a little bit off guard. I didn't quite see d5 coming. I mean, I saw it coming, but for some reason, when it was played in the game, I was a little bit thrown back by how strong it looked at first glance. Now, I thought for some reason taking on d5 would be a little bit messy, as black here just seems to be having a slightly stronger center, and the knight's a little bit looser, and I don't really love this position. Black's knight on d5 is supported twice by the queen and the rook. I can't take it. So I didn't love this idea, but if that's not the idea, what else can I do here? Now, there are ideas like, for example, taking on d5 with the bishop. There's also computer ideas like bishop to h6, which is, by the way, the strongest move right here. I did not find it in the game. Instead of that, I simply said, all right, Black's threat, taking the bishop. I'm way ahead in this game. I have a massive lead. I think if I can just get past this one move and not blow it, I should be in a pretty good attacking setup. So I play the move here, bishop b3. And this is more of a practical choice than anything else. So sometimes in chess, you'll get to a point in the game where you're honestly just not quite sure what you should be doing. And if that is the case, if you don't have a good attacking idea, if you don't see a way to kind of break through, sometimes you do just want to kind of play a waiting move and sort of pass. And that sort of is what I did right here in this game. I have one move in this game where I sort of sit back and say, you know what? Ball's in your court. I didn't really like d5. We're going to sit around and wait and let you find some plan here. Now, Black, what does Black do in this position? He plays the move d takes e4. Now, when I saw this move, I was thrilled. I was so happy. This is literally a dream scenario for me right here. Here's why. I take back with the pawn. And now, look at this. I mean, what a difference one move makes getting rid of these d-pawns. In this position, if it was my turn to move right here, I have the simplest strategy in the world. Black right here has no real threats. Therefore, if it were my move right here, the first thing I say is attack or develop. Is there a way for me to attack the opponent? If there's not, how can I develop? And even better, can I attack the opponent and develop at the exact same time? And it turns out, yes, there is a way. Bishop g5, that would be the strongest move. Let's say Black wastes a move like a6. Then, bada boom, bada bang, bishop g5, I attack the knight and develop and set up rook a d1, developing the rook and attacking the queen. I'm telling you, when you can attack and develop at the exact same time, that is so often one of the strongest ways to play. That would be such a strong idea in that position. Now, Black here obviously is not going to play a6. He's a strong player. Checkmate Jackie in this game, or checkmated Jackie, I should say, the very strong up-and-coming Indian player, my student right here. He plays the move g6. All right, this makes a lot of sense. We've been eyeing this move for a while in this game. First thing I ask, what is the opponent's threat? The threat, taking on the f5 square. What should I do in response? Well, there are a lot of ideas. I can pin the g-pawn like this to deal with the threat. I can jump into h6. There are a lot of options here. There's even the computer ideas of bishop g5 or h6, ignoring the attack on the knight. Now, in the game, I play what looked to me to be a very strong move, but also very, very simple. I deal with the threat and play an attacking move. That is the move knight to h6, hitting the king on the g8 square. Now, Black's king is under check, and the knight cannot be taken. Therefore, the king only has two squares, h8 and g7. And right here, we're going to see the beauty of why attacking in chess is so important in terms of inducing mistakes out of the opponent. Black here only has two moves, and checkmate Jackie, he plays the wrong move. He plays the move king to h8. Now, instead, king to g7 was the right idea, but even there, a move like bishop g5, continuing to attack, continuing to develop, setting up threats on f6, setting up rook a d1 ideas, again, attacking and developing simultaneously. That's how we play chess here. That would be very, very strong. Now, instead, in the game, checkmate Jackie makes a mistake. He's been under so much pressure throughout this game, and this is what happens when you put the opponent under maximum pressure throughout the entire game. Not by recklessly attacking the opponent, but just by systematically, move by move, applying more and more pressure in a safe but strong and long-term planning way. Here, Black plays the move king to h8, and what do you know? After 16 moves of simply relentless attacking pressure against the opponent using my attack or develop system, the knight on f6 is hanging, and Black simply gets checkmated in one move with the move queen to f6, taking the knight and checkmating the infamous checkmated Jackie. He is living up to his name in this game right here. So that is how you use the attack or develop system, which, by the way, if you can simply learn how to use this system, it will completely transform the way you play. So many players don't even have a general thought process for how they're thinking during the game. But if you can learn how to use this system, literally move by move, every single move, first of all, does the opponent have a threat? If they don't, attack or develop. Can I attack the opponent? If I can, is it a good idea? If it is, play it. If I don't have an attacking idea, say a check, a capture, or a threat, if I don't have one of those, then you try to develop, either bringing out more pieces into the game or finding a better square for one of your weaker pieces, or even better, finding a better square for your worst placed piece. That's the way you develop in the middle game. So if you can learn how to use the attack or develop system in your games, like my online students, once they learn this system, they make insane progress. We're talking 1 to 200 to even 400 ELO in a single month style progress, like my best students. If you can learn how to use this, your rating will explode and you will save so many years of just wasted chess progress, and you'll just skyrocket your rating. All right, guys, that's all for today. If you want to learn directly from me how to use the attack or develop system in your own games, I do have a free online chess community where I can teach you exactly how to use this system. Check me into Jackie. We literally had a 2-hour free coaching call this past Saturday where I broke down exactly how to use this system in his own games, including the 5 games I played versus him. And once he learned how to use it, he was simply blown away. Everything made sense to him. And I'm very, very confident he is about to explode his online rating. So again, if you want to learn directly from me, a verified 2,000 plus ELO online player, go to drmikechess.com. Links above and down below in the pinned comment and the description. It's my free online chess community, and I guarantee I can help you reach your online chess goals so much faster. All right, guys, that's all for today. As always, I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond, and I will see you in the next video.